To all. So for the information of everyone, I will be doing this video for my students, especially the academic track, the UMS and the ADBM, for them to understand better about our topic. Anyway, our subject is physical science. As we all know, this is one of the blades of science because it talks about the processes and procedures which is hard to teach and difficult to instill in students' mind. Therefore, this video will be a great help for you to understand much deeper about our topic. As we all know, we are now in a modular distance learning, so I cannot reach you out. So I hope this video will help you. Anyway, our subject, physical science, it needs the teachers to discuss thoroughly about the topic. So this video will, I bet, help you understand more about it. But anyway, gagamit po ako ng Tagalog language para mas maintindihan natin lahat, and especially doon sa mga struggling students. And for the information of everyone, our topic covers the competencies that was included in the ADM or the alternative learning mode suggested by the curriculum experts of the DepEd. So, please allow me to start. Have you also wondered what stars are made of? What keeps them shining so bright? Are there also stars that do not spark? You might be asking the same questions since you were little, that until now, you are still seeking answers for it. Well, this lesson will help you understand some of the important concepts about stars. The world where we live today is just a small part of the universe. In your previous years, you have learned the different theories of the origin of the universe that eventually lead to the formation of solar systems, galaxies, stars, and other heavenly bodies. So, this lesson will focus on one of those wonderful things present in our universe. And of course, the stars. Although stars are millions of light years from us, we can still see them in the night sky twinkling, right? So let's find out how they emit light and how and what keeps them shining for a very long time. Scientists believe that the formation of the universe began through the explosion of primordial atom that happened 13 billion years ago. It was known as the Big Bang. It became a theory that also explains the continuous expansion of the universe. And take note, it is the theory that most widely accepted because of its evidences. Moving on, right after the Big Bang, protons and neutrons combine together and form light elements like hydrogen and helium in the process of Big Bang nucleosynthesis. Other light elements such as lithium and beryllium were also found during this process. The first stars formed about 100 million years after Big Bang and began a new type of nucleosynthesis. When we say nucleosynthesis, it is the process of forming or combining together. So the extreme temperatures and pressure in the core of the stars overcame the mutual repulsion of atomic nuclei and alloy nuclei to fuse together into heavier elements. So the word stellar means star, and the formation of elements in the center of the star is called stellar nucleosynthesis. So this is the big picture of how the stars evolve. Let's explore them one by one. The first stage is the nebulas. Nebulas are clouds of interstellar gas and dust. The gravitational attraction that material in a nebula has for itself that can eventually make the nebula coalesce. When we say coalesce, united into a denser object called a protostar. Always remember, nebula is just a mere gas and dust. After a nebula, a protostar forms when a dense region occurs in a cloud of interstellar material. The surrounding material is gravitationally attracted to this dense spot and condenses into a more compact form. As the material becomes more dense, it means pag lalo itong mas bumibigat, the pressure and temperature at the center of the protostar increases. So for you to easily memorize or remember concepts, of the stellar evolution, let's have a mnemonic. So, the first stage in stellar evolution is N stands for the nebula. Second one is P stands for protostar. So, the third stage, a protostar became a star when its inner temperature reaches 10 million degrees Celsius or 18 million degrees Fahrenheit. This high temperature triggers a nuclear reactions in the core of the protostar. Hydrogen fused to form helium and releasing a tremendous amount of energy in the process. This energy fuels the star and radiates outward in the form of light and heat. So always remember that the fuel of the star is none other than the light elements called helium or hydrogen. So a star evolves into a red giant, R and G, when its hydrogen fuel begins to run out. So when it consumes its fuel, the hydrogen, red giant forms. The core of the star shrinks as it nears the end of its hydrogen, but the outer layer of the star expands as the star begins to burn its core. A red giant can grow to be 100 to 1,000 times bigger in diameter than the sun. Imagine that. But its surface is relatively cool, making it glow with a red color instead of blue or white. For the next stage, when a very massive stars go through a second expansion after exhausting their hydrogen fuel, they become supergiants or SG. Okay. Supergiants form when helium atoms in the core of massive stars, red giants or massive red giants, fuse to form carbon. So when the helium fused with other elements that forms carbon, supergiants was produced. These nuclear reactions release a second wave of energy and cause the red giant to expand into supergiant. Moving on, supernova, stand for S, occur when very massive stars, more than 8 times the mass of the sun, use up their fuel and collapse, boom, under their own weight. The collapse leads to an explosion that sends a shockwave through space, which is followed by a shell of material from the star's atmosphere. The supernova may completely destroy the star, or it may leave the core of the star intact. So it depends upon the process itself. When an extremely massive star supernovas, the gravitational pull within the remaining core may be strong enough to cause even neutrons to collapse. The core condenses into black hole. So it forms a black hole. This is an object so dense, napakabigat, that it attracts everything around it, including light. The volume of the black hole may be smaller than of a typical city of Earth, but its mass, ang bigat nito, is more than 10 times that of the sun. So, napakabigat as compared sa sun na meron tayo. And eventually, the so-called, the corpse of the star, the neutron star. It forms from the core of the star that has undergone supernova. The atoms in the star condenses and collapse until 2 particles that compose atoms, the protons and electrons, fuse to form neutron. When protons and neutrons fuse and they form neutron star was being produced. The star is no longer composed of complete atoms, only neutron. Kaya nga tinatawag siyang neutron star. So aside from this way, or this stage, there's also another stage when star can also undergo. So when a red giant that is 6 to 8 times more massive than the sun run out agad-agad of fuel, nawalan agad siya ng hydrogen, the star becomes unstable and collapses. It collapses and under its own weight, ejecting its outer layers into space. This hollow ejected space or gas and dust forms the planetary nebula. Now, a white dwarf forms when a red giant uses up its fuel and collapses. Such a star extremely compact and continues to glow because of energy trapped in its core. White dwarf can be as small as Earth, yet contain as much 70% of the mass of the Sun. Remember, white dwarf still glows. Now, when a white dwarf eventually releases all its trapped energy and cools off, pag lumamig na ito, it became black dwarf. Black dwarfs are much more massive than planets, but they are too cold enough to give off light, meaning they are not sparkling or they don't have their own light. So, parang relasyon lang yan. Minsan, meron pang liwanag at mainit pa. And eventually, pag nagsawa na, lalamig at lalamig na yan. Char! Just a joke! And this is the big picture of how the stars are born and how the star ends its life. So, let's recall. N stands for nebulous. P stands for protostar. S for star. RG for red giant. SG for supergiant. S for supernova. And then, what is this? The black hole. And the other cycle or other way is the planetary nebula, the white dwarf, and the black dwarf. So I hope you learned something from this lesson and happy learning! So to all viewers, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, queries, or clarifications, just message me directly. So for you to be updated of my lessons, please don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell. Thank you!